entire mission to eliminate hybrids. But we've made it ours to protect them.
It took some creative work to make Gus, the half-human, half-deer boy that he is in Netflix's Sweeth Tooth, the adaptation of the DC Vertigo comic, look believable. And Sweeth Tooth's showrunner has recently revealed the surprising secrets behind Gus's ear and antler prosthetics. So stay tuned to hear all the information and secrets behind Gus's famous ear and antler prosthetics. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Recently released on Netflix, Sweeth Tooth is a fantasy tale and dystopian drama produced by Robert Downey Jr. and his wife, Susan Downey. The series follows a human deer boy searching for a new beginning in a post-apocalyptic world. And in the digital age, we legitimately ask ourselves the question of whether Gus's little hairy ears, played by Christian Convery, are 100% digital or not. The question arises all the more since his little ears move perfectly like those of a real deer. However, speaking recently, showrunner Jim Mickle confirmed exclusively that the magic behind Gus's ear and antler is puppetry. And according to Mickle, this mission fell to Grant Lehman, a puppeteer who previously worked on The Wolverine and I, Frankenstein, who is now also the ear puppeteer for Sweeth Tooth. Mickle stated that he rather preferred to avoid CGI effects. Instead, actor Christian Convery was outfitted with animatronics manipulated remotely with a transmitter by Lehman, the puppeteer. Also according to Mickle, having Convery wear deer ears and antlers on set as Gus overall helped all the actors in their performances. Partly inspired by Jim Henson, Mickle explained, "So it started with Gus, and it makes a big difference because the other characters are acting off of something real in front of them. The way that the light hits them, you get those happy accidents on set. And that informed the way I think we tried to pull a lot of the world off and other characters, and it was very cool." Sweeth Tooth is set in a post-apocalyptic world where a father is trying to protect his son, Gus, from the outside world. As stated, Gus is a human-deer hybrid baby born around the time a deadly virus wipes out most of the human population. Every child born around and since the time of the virus is an animal-human hybrid, which causes fear and killing in a new and fearful world. But Gus is safe from harm, living with his father inside the Yellowstone Park, away from prying eyes. He and his father build a life for themselves and stay safe for 10 years, but when the serene atmosphere is broken, Gus goes on an adventure to find his mother with the help of some friends. Hiding his ears and antlers from the world, the adventure is only beginning for the little kid, and the showrunner of Sweeth Tooth detailed the use of prosthetics and puppetry for those adorable ears and antlers many fans have grown to love. Prosthetics in movies and TV shows have slowly been replaced by dots and stickers on the body of a performer, but there are still people who try to do as much on camera as possible. And Netflix's new series Sweeth Tooth sees Jim Mickle and the crew pulling out all the stops to make sure they capture almost everything on camera. In the show, we are introduced to the hybrid children, kids who are born half animal and half human, which means they have body parts of the animal. Instead of putting all the kids in green leotards and covering them with tennis balls, the production decided to use real prosthetics and puppetry to shoot the hybrid kids. The lead character of the show is Gus. He, as previously mentioned, is a combination of deer and human. Gus has deer ears and antlers, and the ears move with different emotions the kid is feeling in any particular scene. The movement of the ears is not done by camera. Rather, the showrunner explained a handler on set watched Gus and through wires that run down his back controlled the ears. Mickle explained, "It's Fracture, the company, Fracture FX, that did our effects. A guy named Justin Rayleigh. We made a decision early on that we wanted to try the puppet route and not just do 3D ears and try to have as much as we could baked into it on the camera. So Christian basically has a little helmet which is hair and it sits on top. The antlers click in. They're amazing. They're really tight. They click in with magnets. And then he's got these ears that will sit over the top of his ears and little cables that run down his back. And he has these little motors that are strapped to his back the whole time that are hidden. Then there's a puppeteer that operates on him remotely. They can do all sorts of shapes and reactions and speeds. It's amazing to watch. It's the puppeteer that will watch his performance and just anticipate his emotions and work alongside him. I think that Christian has gotten used to what they do to his performance, and the puppeteers have really gotten used to him. So it's a really cool process. Of course, it's up to the puppeteer to play and make all the kinds of shapes and reactions at varying speeds, but as expected, all of this was calculated with the greatest care. So the puppeteer Grant Lehman had to adjust to Convery's game, anticipate his emotions, and synchronize himself at the slightest reaction. Lehman and Convery would practice scenes together, working out which expressions Lehman would have to match at any given moment, and allowing him to compensate for a fraction of a second delay between his controls and the animatronics. During the filming, the operator would follow Convery around, keeping his eyes on the performer's face to ensure that the ears would respond appropriately to in-universe stimuli, and the results speak for themselves. If you watch carefully, you'll notice that Gus' acute hearing will react to noises just before the rest of his body knows what's happening. It's just one of a pile of small, intricate touches that have critics and audiences hypnotized by the show. According to Netflix, the production team on Sweeth Tooth drew a lot of inspiration from the work of Jim Henson and wanted to shoot as much of the show as possible with puppets and practical effects. Against all odds, this included the baby hybrids featured in the first episode, Bobby, the groundhog boy, and the impressively expressive ears on Gus's noggin. As stated before, these ears are placed above the actor's real ears and are attached to small cables that run down his back. In addition to these ears, Christian Convery also had to wear a sort of helmet on which the deer antlers were clipped using magnets. As for Convery's thoughts on these complicated contraptions, the actor said he went with the idea and prepared to make it work. It took me a while to get used to it. After researching about deers and how they move and react, and after a while of filming, I really got used to being Gus with antlers and being a deer. He said, there are some funny moments. There was this one scene where I was running, then my antlers fell off because I hit a tree. Admittedly, the use of special effects in post-production has proven to be essential in Sweeth Tooth, but only when necessary, often to clean the image and erase all traces of the mechanism or even of the puppeteer. Aside from actor Christian Convery's thoughts, here's what showrunner Jim Mickle had to say about choosing to bring the hybrids to life with prosthetics and puppetry instead of full CGI characters or VFX. Looking back at it, in terms of pulling out the realness, I think that was my concern. You don't want to do this and have it just be a green screen and a shiny CGI world. At the same time, I was falling back in love with Jim Henson and puppetry and animatronics and that world. So it felt like, what if we bring that handcrafted feel to this? And it feels right because all of Jeff's work is very handcrafted in a way. So we took that approach to the show and brought the practical world into Gus's ears, and all that stuff is done on set. It just feels like the right way to tell Jeff's story. And I remember thinking, there's no way we're going to be able to make Gus's ear move. And then talking to Justin Raley at Fractured FX, who did our effects, they were like, I think there's a way we can rig this so that we can use radio control. I just kept thinking it's really not gonna work, but we'll go down this road and we can just fix it later. And we had to fix almost nothing later, which is exciting. And it was cool because on set, you'd have a puppeteer who oftentimes would sit next to you at the monitor and watch. He could anticipate where Christian was gonna go emotionally or in performance or even with slight tics. The puppeteer has a slight delay in what he does, but he's able to work with Christian almost like music, and that was really amazing. And hats to Christian for dealing with all of that all the time, because the rig is there and it's always making noise when it turns. He's doing these really tender scenes and he's got literal radio control motors glued to his ears. It was a process, but Grant Lehman, our puppeteer, was just amazing and he made it effortless. With that, we're going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching!